I was just watching some guy talking about how back in the 90s, he was involved with the Timothy McVeigh bombing of the Murrah building, or Murray, or Murrah, whatever, in Oklahoma City. And it made me think about how I got back from Desert Shield and Storm. I was there for the whole thing on both of them, really. And right away, I had to stand at the school and do this with a good haircut while they raised the flags that the Capitol sent to our school. And you stand there and go, lucky I made it. I woke up out of a 3-hour sleep, totally loaded, driving down the road going, oh shit, I'm supposed to be at the school. And I knew I was still drunk, but I held it together. And I was on TV 7 and 4 News out of Traverse City, talking. It's really great, all these people come together and stuff. And thereafter that was Red Fitzik. He was there, and he was part of the VFW. And he said, yeah, you're eligible. And I said, I've been wanting to be in the VFW my whole life. I didn't know if I was going to join the military to do it. I just wanted to be in it. Wanted to get one of those hats. I looked around for it. I haven't unpacked everything yet. I just wanted to grow into that, from being a young man to being a very old man in that hat, walking down the road. I got to walk through town with a rifle. In one of the parades, they just gave it to me and said, here, you walk. And I'm like, and that's where my grandpa, I went to see my grandpa, my dad's dad, after the thing on Memorial Day. And I said, Grandpa, they let me carry a rifle through town. And he said, did they give you any bullets? And I was like, ha 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 ha. That's exactly what I asked when they gave me the rifle. I said, where are the bullets? And they were like, you're not getting any bullets. But yeah, just to be able to get in that hat, and grow old right in the fucking eye of everybody in town. Still got to become mayor. My uniform still fits. But I would go to the meetings. I was a good member of the VFW. I would go to every meeting. I paid my dues, and I'd sit there and we'd tell jokes when they closed the Bible, open the Bible, have a prayer, and then it would be over, and you'd go downstairs and play poker and drink. It was a great time. And the one day, sitting there before the meeting even started, I was going to say I won't say his name because I don't want to get him in trouble, but I'm pretty sure he didn't lose his mind to everything that went on, and so he's still okay. This young guy, one other young guy sitting there in one of these meetings, one meeting. It was like he was coming to recruit people, and there was only one guy that was the right age to recruit, because everybody else was like, there's Pee Wee. He's just like, They're World War II vets. The Vietnam vets had their own thing, and the Korean vets didn't really even want much to do with it. But there I was the only one that was the right age. And for what I understand, he turns out to be my cousin. So there he is, that Cherry kid. He's sitting next to me, and he says, hey, I go to this militia thing in Grayling. He says, you should come by check it out. And I said to him, I said, yeah, before even having heard Groucho Marx say the thing about, I'd never be a part of any club that had me as a member, I said to him, I'm not into clubs. I'm just not into clubs. I'm this way. And he was like, oh. And that was 92 or so. I got invited from Mary's Tavern one time, too, from a guy that wanted me to come down and shoot some firearms in Grayling with him, with some of his buddies. And I had to tell him the same thing. That one, it felt like I was being looked at by the government. This guy, he wasn't somebody I felt I could trust. It was like he was scoping me out. I said, no, I don't want to be any part of this. But the interesting thing is that McVeigh was in Desert Storm. Dowdy was in SHIELD. He was, I think he was a leg, so he showed up late. But he had tried out to get into Special Forces and didn't make it. So he was somebody that was just like, somebody that wasn't good enough to be good, but mad because they didn't let him sit around with him anyway. So what I'd heard was he was in Desert Storm and he shot somebody just to see him die, and that he spent time at the Grayling militia place. They have a National Guard place there. That's why I say be careful of the National Guard, They really want to be soldiers, and all they get is 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. They can't even get their hair cut for it. Be careful of them. That's a good place to start a militia, is in a National Guard town. And so I was getting connected to this stuff. And then I go on spring break to South Padre Island, driving through Waco, Texas. And at the same time, my dad's going, you down there with Jesus? I'm like, what are you talking about? And evidently, Koresh was there at the time. They were burning down his fortress at the time I was down there, or after I got back from spring break. I saw it in the New York Times, how Janet Reno said, we knew something like this could happen, but we decided to go through the operation anyway, go through with it anyway. At the same time, Tom Brokaw saying, the FBI could have had no idea something like this could have happened. Oh, I'm out of the job. Nobody knew he was going. So I was going through there at that time, and I got accused of being in the cult when I fished Alaska by my crazy hillbilly cousins. They thought that I ran away with his cult. And once again, never be a part of any club that would have me as a member. I'm not part of a club mentality. You got to be able to make things up on your own. What works for you that you believe works for others. Don't let somebody fucking breathing down your neck saying you have to vote. Like Trump standing there with his wife while she's voting for the presidency and looking over her shoulder. I thought this was supposed to be a secret vote. I thought it was supposed to be that's like sacrilege to any kind of fucking voting system anyway. If I were running for president, I wouldn't vote for me. I'd vote for the other guy just to see if my vote really counted. You gotta be able to have faith in the people behind you. You're not looking over their shoulder. Fuck. President shouldn't be allowed to vote for himself. Who's he to say? So there's that, the crash thing, and then when I moved out to California in 95, and I was driving, it took me 2 months to go through. I stopped in Oklahoma City and watched a band in a bar called Nuclear something, a decent local metal band. They played there, and Nuclear Dawn, that's what the name of their band was. And I stopped, and I was there for one night, and I kept moving on after that. So I was there, and then I get to where I'm going, and they blew up the building. I'm like, the front of it anyway, and the kids inside. And I said, wow, that's weird. I was there right at that time, just passing through, speedy delivery. I was on my way through, you know. And then I rode my motorcycle back in 2001. And as I was coming up on a long ride, I went by Terre Haute Federal Penitentiary. And I said, there's the fucking prison. It turned out McVeigh was in there. When I got home, I found out McVeigh was in that prison. And then they killed him just at the time I went by. And I'm like, wow, why is it I'm so arguably, inextricably linked to this guy and his ideas, and how he there was an anniversary date of the crash thing when they blew up the Murrah building, whatever it was. And what that's telling me is how easy it is to be in a place where people are inviting you in. They're inviting you in, saying, come with us. Come with us. One of us. Googly goo. Googly goo. One of us. One of us. And you're like, could have easily fallen into all that stuff. And this is not an absolution for anybody that got dragged into this stuff. And now, this is just talking about the notion that every one of those people had a chance to say, no, I'm not buying it. I'm doing just fine. And they were all down there. They could not. They could not put forth an argument. They cannot put forth an argument that they were drawn in and they were haplessly lost. They were just drawn in. They kind of. They had a chance. Take them back to the Capitol. They started with one noose,